Hello, true crimeers. This is another true crime in a short amount of time, maybe. And this is the case of Jian Fang. Viewer discretion is advised. Real quick before we get started, of course, hello, my name is Mike. If you're new to the channel, I tell 3 true crime stories every week, and I roll my R's on every word for some reason. I don't know why. I post on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays here on YouTube. I also post every single day a short-form true crime story over on TikTok where I'm more known. I have like 3 million-ish followers over there. So feel free to follow that if you like. The link is in the link tree in the description below, or it'll pop up here at the beginning and also at the end of the video. Also in the link tree, you will find my merch store where we sell t-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. We do ship all over this octagonally shaped earth. Okay, so check that out if you like to. And then lastly, if there's a case you want me to cover, I'm talking so weird, just go ahead and email me. My email is listed below. This is a hot mess. The whole thing is a hot mess. My email is listed below. Just email me the name of the case that you would like me to cover, like the date of when it happened, where it happened. I'll add it to the list. I do have like 5,700 names on that list, so it may be a while before I get to yours. And I pick my cases at random, so it could be a while. But let's get into today's case. So like I said, I randomly choose my cases by basically I close my eyes, I scroll the list and pick a name. I don't know what it is lately, but I keep picking names that have a very minimal amount of information on them, but I gotta stick to my thing, and sometimes we're gonna have short videos. But this case does not have a ton of information, and I really don't have many pictures. As a matter of fact, the photos I'm going to show primarily are like recreations from, TV shows, like Unsolved Mysteries. So it was December 18th, 1993, and this happened in San Francisco, California, specifically in the Chinatown area. 42-year-old Jian Fang was a businessman in the area. He owned 2 noodle supply companies, and he was, from what I understand, doing pretty well for himself. Jian Fang was the guy who would flaunt sometimes the money he had. He would wear nice suits and stuff, and he could be sometimes a bit of a braggart. But overall, he still remained as, a pretty decent guy, a nice guy. He seemed to be well liked by everyone. Well, on that December 18th, 1993 evening in Chinatown, Jian Fang was found stabbed to death in a van. There was someone else in the van as well, another person who I guess worked with Jian, and she was alive, and it looked like she had been hit or beaten by someone. The police were actually notified of this body in the vehicle around 1:30 in the morning. So Jian Fang had a stab wound essentially directly to his heart, like it pierced his heart, and he was pronounced dead at the scene when they arrived. The murder weapon was actually left behind. It was this tiny little knife with, blood on it. It was just like a regular, cheap kitchen knife, which seems kind of strange to them because it's not like the typical knife someone would have if this was like a premeditated type of crime. Who would bring this flimsy, cheap little steak knife to do it? It just seems odd. They also found a gun in the car, which was not used, at least not in the van during this particular crime. The police scoured the entire car for any other evidence like fingerprints, but they found none. No a DNA left behind, like the attackers didn't bleed or anything like that. Now at first, the gun looked like a normal gun, but then they found out pretty quickly that it was a BB gun. And so they don't know exactly why it was in the van, if it belonged to Jian Fang or if it belonged to whoever attacked him, but it was left behind and it had no fingerprints. So all they had was the surviving victim. Jian had offered to give a ride home to one of his employees. Her name was Yi Sung. They got into the van and she told police that the window of the van must have already been broken because she does not recall them breaking the window after the fact. But Jian and Yi Sung didn't notice the broken window, or else they probably would have gotten into the van and began to drive. And that's exactly what happened. They got into the van and he turned on the car and they drove. After about 100 feet or so, all of a sudden, 2 men pop out from the back seats of the van and scared the crap out of both of the occupants. quite honestly would probably terrify the living daylights out of me as well. These two men kept demanding money. Give us the money, give us the money, but they weren't speaking English. The witness said it sounded like they were speaking extremely fluent Cantonese. And Cantonese is the language that Jian spoke. That was his native tongue. One of the men was basically got up front with Jian, and then the other man stayed in the back with Yi Sung. And eventually he told her, either you look away or, look out this specific window. Just don't look at what's happening up front. And then he took his weapon and he bashed her over the head with it. And then there was this went on for like 30 minutes where they were demanding this money. And Jin's like, what money? What are you talking about? And the two men are just like ripping up the van. They're like pulling up seats, and they're looking in every compartment they can find, and they don't really find any money. It got to a point where Jian Fang decided he was going to fight back. And he began to, I guess, reach over to the passenger seat where the other guy was sitting, and he tried to do something. But as he was moving, the guy with the knife, this flimsy little steak knife, takes it and jabs it right into Jin's heart. And it goes in all the way, piercing his heart. What amazed the coroner was how precise it was. Given how pitch dark it was, because the parking lot they were in wasn't very well lit, the van was dark, and so this pinpoint accuracy of straight to the heart seemed like that was just really good luck. Then they told the witness, if you say anything, we're going to kill you. And so they demanded she stayed in the van and stay quiet until they're long gone. And that's exactly what she did. The two men left the van. Jian Fang was basically already dead because he had blood out. They didn't get the money they wanted. They didn't get anything. They fled the scene, and that was it. Police had nothing. They had no idea who did this. They don't know what the reason, the motive behind this was. How do they know, what kind of money Jian Fang had? They had very little physical evidence to decipher who these men were. Again, no fingerprints, no DNA, no hair, nothing. They left no traces of themselves behind. So they got kind of desperate in terms of, we need help with this investigation, and these detectives had a class they taught called Murder We Solve, where it was essentially a class full of just regular adults like me and you, who would hear all the details of a case directly from the detective working the case, and they would see what these people what they would be able to offer, if they have any insights or suggestions and things like that. One of them brought up the fact of why would they bring such a basic, simple, and flimsy knife to a robbery? Was the BB gun theirs and they dropped it? Was the BB gun Jin's? No one really knew, but again, if that was the attackers, this would show they're not very experienced at what they do, or they were just trying to look scarier than they may actually intended to be. And then another one of the guests, I guess, that were in this class said, well, what was his money situation like? Obviously, you have to follow the money in a situation like this because money appeared to be the motive. Well, Jian Fang, because he ran two of these businesses, he would every day go to each business and collect his, I guess, money from the restaurants. This would be typically anywhere between $500 to maybe $3,000 a day, and he would always get it in cash. So the speculation was he may be being followed by someone. Maybe he was being tailed by these assailants for some time before they decided to finally act and steal money from him. But they couldn't come up with a suspect in terms of who. Maybe someone who worked at these restaurants, a common denominator, who would have seen him every day to know what kind of money he takes in. But they couldn't find a suspect that way. They got a tip about 3 to 5 weeks after the murder took place that basically said, look into Jin's gambling debts. And that's when they found out that Jian Fang was a gambler. And the rumor was that he was a prolific bettor, but he also worked as a bookmaker in this gambling ring. This underground secret gambling ring. And this did seem pretty realistic. This is something involved heavily with money. They tried to explore every avenue of that tip about the gambling thing, but detectives just were not able to come up with actual people involved in this. They were not able to come up with actual evidence to suggest it was real or happening. All they had was this tip from an anonymous source. One of the students in that class suggested, well, what if this is a gambling thing, but it's not as deeply rooted as, doesn't go as deep underground, I guess, as the tip would suggest. Perhaps this was a simple betting situation where maybe he bet against someone he saw at his businesses, right? A fellow employee or something. Maybe Jian Fang won this bet and ended up taking the money from this individual. And maybe that individual got really pissed off and wanted his money back, and so he attacked him. That would explain the kind of randomness of this attack and the fact that this person really wasn't well equipped with like proper weaponry, that it may have happened just kind of in a spur of the moment. And so to me, that sounds like a realistic approach. It doesn't sound like this is someone who was tailing him for some time, because you would think they would be more prepared. They would have better weapons with them. But I guess you never really know. It just has a very first time committing a robbery type vibes to it. You know what I mean? It just doesn't sound very thought out and planned and premeditated. The only thing that is really known about the actual assailants is there were two of them. The witness said that they sounded fairly young, and they appeared to be Chinese men who were speaking in Cantonese. And from what I understand, they were wearing masks, at least according to the witness. But again, it was super dark, and so she didn't get the best look at either of these men. And that did lead to some theories about, well, what about the witness? Was she involved in this? Did she create a scenario in order to have him, drive her somewhere just to get into the van and have this robbery scenario take place? And that would explain, because if Jian Fang is stabbed and killed, well, now you have a witness to this murder. So why didn't they kill her? That's, I guess, the question. And the answer to that is either, well, they weren't planning to kill anyone and this just happened. They freaked out and they both bolted, or perhaps she was involved. But there's really no evidence or proof to back that up either. And that's this whole case, is you have an eyewitness to a man who was killed by two men. One of the witnesses was struck over the head with a gun, and she was injured, but nobody really saw anything that would provide like enough details to know who it was. No one else heard anything. There weren't witnesses who saw these two men running or getting into a car. And because of the vagueness of all of this, there are just this abundance of theories and rumors and speculation. And all of that gets jumbled up, especially when you're doing an investigation like this, when you have to deal with people throwing out rumors of like this deep underground gambling world. And what if there were gangs involved? And what if this was someone who was stalking him? And what if Mrs. Yi was involved? Like, you have all of this kind of just piling up, with these detectives. And it just kind of becomes a convoluted mess. It's a disaster. But in the end, this man, Jian Fang, who I don't really know a whole lot about, was murdered. And he was killed during a botched robbery. And nobody knows who these two men were. Somebody has to know. These are probably guys who, maybe out of like being scared, maybe they blurted out this information to someone. And so that someone else knows about what they did. Maybe they bragged about what they did to someone. Maybe they were proud of it. A lot of times these types of killers talk to people. And sometimes the people they talk to are just afraid to come forward because, well, what if they kill me for ratting them out? But let me tell you, this happened in 1993. That is about 30 years ago. I think it's okay now to come out and provide information if you have it, because Jian Fang deserves justice just like everybody else does. Every murder that happens, they all deserve that final answer. They deserve that peace and that justice, and somebody just has to know. Somebody has to know who stabbed Jian Fang and killed him. If that person is you, please contact the authorities in the San Francisco, California area. And you can remain anonymous. You do not have to say who you are. All you have to say is what you know. So help Jian Fang and his family, his friends, the people that loved him. Please help them all get the justice that they rightfully deserve. But that is it for this case, True Crime Rooney Dooney Dingleberry Dongs. I know it's kind of a vague one and there's not a lot of information for it, but regardless of how long the story takes, the story still deserves to be told and the answers still deserve to come out. And justice should prevail, hopefully, one day. But like I said at the beginning, if you're new here, please subscribe, give this video a like so it gets pushed out to the world. Follow me over on TikTok and recommend a case to my email. Check out the merch. This isn't even merch. Why'd I do this? This is a Padre shirt. I don't sell these. Check out the merch. I figured today, to end this video, we could take a gander, because I remember a couple of videos ago at the end, I showed you the TV guide that I was in, right? This was from May 30th to June 5th of what? Of what? What year was this? 1987? 1987. Whoa. And just to recap, this little chubber right there, I'm not sure if it's gonna see it or not, but that's me. I was in the TV guide. Yeah. So let's see what was on TV, huh? Let's check it out. What is today? Today is Wednesday, March 6th. So it's Wednesday. Let's see what was on a Wednesday back then. Let's flip. Okay. Okay. Well, on Channel 15, we had Canadian Brass. The ensemble displays a wide range of musical styles in an Atlantic concert. Selections include Carnival of Venice, Fat Swaller's Handful of Keys, and I'm Already Bored. Okay. Okay. Man, there were a lot of cigarette ads. Holy shit. Look at this. Let me show you. This guy, this attractive man, he is smoking a cig. He's smoking it right there. So they're advertising it there. And then on the back, look at this lady. This lady is thrilled to be smoking some Benson and Hedges. Those probably went out of style immediately. I've never heard of those. Look at, they're happy. They're having a conversation with their cigs in their hand. She's so happy to eventually get cancer and die. That's great. Good for her. I'm happy for her. She's probably dead. Don't smoke. Oh my God, there's another one. Look at these young, look, these are young folks, right? These are the young folks of the times, of the 80s. They just finished a great game of kickball, maybe some softball, I'm not really sure, but they're gonna smoke some Winston Lights. They're actually holding them in their hands, a couple of them. They're gonna smoke some Winstons, okay? But they're happy about it. They're like, oh my God, we're smoking cigarettes. We're getting smoke filled up in our lungs. We're dying slowly, bro. All of these people, dead. Maybe not of cancer, but dead because, well, this is a long time ago and old stuff. So anyway, we'll take another gander and look at other times on future videos. We'll peruse the book, the big book of everything. The great big book of everything. Oh God, there's Bill Cosby. Oh shit. Forgot. Anyway, well, this was fun. Hi, I'm Sybil Shepherd, and I'm saying toodaloos, mother. It's very rude, Sybil Shepherd. Go yourself, Mike. Why do I sound like Mickey Mouse? I'm not Mickey Mouse. I'm Sybil Shepherd. Mike, just shut up. Ha ha ha. Oh, okay. Well,